Keep playing, everybody. Okay, we are live. So anybody in the chat, just put something in there. I think we're good to go. Fantastic. I'm just going to record this here. Actually, we're on YouTube Live, so I'm going to do that. Fantastic. All right, here we go. So this is on our love it or hate it, our friends, the enemy of some, crash cymbals, and how to use them tastefully, and some different ideas. And we got some really fun song examples here, and we got a lot of awesome drummers here. So any questions you guys have, or suggestions or song ideas, just put them in the chat. So cool, here we go. So crash cymbals. Let's start off by just having respect for like how this is kind of like a sonic bomb you can drop in the music. And it's so in a high pitched kind of range that a lot of drummers just go crash by default. And this is really the danger. I did this for a long time and I still do it sometimes, where you're kind of playing and you're just like crashing because that's what we do. And just crashing at a default and not really thinking about the power that these cymbals have in the music. It's literally like an explosion. And sonically, it just is like a huge spectrum you're creating. And just some different ideas on how to use these in a better way, and some cool song examples. And I think the real danger is just being kind of numb to it, where you're just hitting them and you're not really thinking about it. And it just becomes this default way to play. And even now, I've been playing a long time, and sometimes I'll play and I'll just hit a crash. I'll be like, oh, didn't really need to do that. And I'm like, oh, could have done without that. Oh, that kind of stepped on a musical idea that I heard from somebody else. So that's the real danger, is just like using these kind of weapons we have at our kit, and maybe a different way, and maybe not the typical way that everybody does, and maybe just thinking of them a little differently. And even if you need them at all, sometimes, it's great to go to a gig. Sometimes one of my favorite things to do is just have the kit, and I got one ride cymbal. And one thing to get out of your minds is like a crash cymbal, a ride cymbal, a hi-hat, this and that. Like, cymbals are kind of cymbals. So you can crash a ride and you can ride a crash. And a cymbal is, let's just think of the cymbal as a symbol. And it's kind of how we approach it, and the ideas you can get even just out of one tool here. So let's even start by like the way to play a crash. Think of pulling the sound out of the instrument. Like, definitely never play into the crash like straight. So it's kind of like I always think of it like a sideways thing, and like I'm pulling the sound out of the cymbal. So there's this kind of glancing, almost like a sideways kind of thing. And if you watch classical musicians, you'll really, really get a feel for how they, I don't even, like, hit is the wrong word. I don't even know if strike's the right word, but it's like pulling the sound out of the cymbal. It's a real art, and really classical musicians are great to watch for this. And even how, if you ever seen the I don't know what they're called, cymbalists, the percussionists, and they're holding the two cymbals like whoosh, and just kind of pulling the sound out of the cymbal. So it's like the whole way to even play a crash is an art in itself. So let's kind of start there with that, right? So even just on your sets, everybody's pretty much at their set. Let me see everybody just play just the cymbal right now, and you could throw a right side. Can literally show me that. Okay, so Kelly, you're kind of pull the, like, you see how I'm not even holding a stick and I'm kind of doing that? It's kind of what you're going for, like a sideways glance. Yeah, Gary, perfect. Perfect. So Alex, back of the hand, man, that's going to help you because the back of the hand, watch this. If I'm in the front of my hand, I'm probably going to be more like pressy. But if I'm in the back of my hand, I can like kind of control that back swoosh. Yeah, Gary, exactly. So Gary Graham, that's great. Jono, and I've seen lots of your videos. Yeah, exactly. Very good. I've seen lots of your videos. You definitely got this going really good. So great. Okay, so just think of how you play crashes in the first place. So first, I got a bunch of fun musical examples. Okay, so first one, who can unmute themselves and tell me the drummer you've seen with the most amount of crash cymbals ever? And let's see if you get it. Just unmute yourself, shout it out, or even put it in the chat.
Dave Abrucci from Pearl Jam.
Nice, he's got a lot. That's a good one. That's a good one. Anybody else?
Who has the most crash cymbals?
Mm.
Nico McBrain has a pile of them from Iron
Oh,
Maiden.
that's a great answer. That's a great answer. Anybody else? This is for fun. That's not literally a trivia question, but
Well, Neil Peart had his share of cymbals hanging up around
yeah,
him.
Neil Peart, Mike Mangini, you could kind of think of them, right? So I'm going to show you the drummer that I have seen with the most, and I think some of you may have heard me share this. So we got Jonathan Moffat from Michael Jackson. I counted about 17 to 19 crash cymbals. So I'm thinking Michael Jackson loves crash cymbals. Now you notice the two behind him, and there's even a fun clip. So this is Beat It. And there's even a fun little moment where he actually like chokes the cymbals behind him and keeps playing the beat without even stopping. I don't even know how he does it. Let's crackling. You guys hear that? That's okay with sound? Let me just, anybody getting a crackling on that? That's weird. Let me just refresh that. We don't want the crackle. There we go. Okay, let's try that again. Let's watch it again. Wow, don't ask me to do that. Back to the beat. Man, so just an example of like, man, sometimes the crashes are great. Sometimes singers love them. Now, let's all play. Let's go to the opposite of that. Let's all play to this. This is a song. Everybody knows Tom Petty. And the drummer here is a great drummer named Steve Ferroni. And we're all going to play to this, okay? We'll play about a minute and a half of it maybe. And this is a song called You Don't Know How It Feels. Everybody knows this, but the story is that in the studio, they wanted no crash cymbals at all. I don't know why, but that's like, think about that, right? Who would have said, you know what? Let's have like 0 crash cymbals for this entire song. And the story is that they went to Steve Ferrone's kit and they took off the crash cymbal. So this is literally the opposite of what you just saw. So you got like 17 to 19 crashes with Michael Jackson to like 0 crashes in this song with Tom Petty. Now, of course, Steve Ferrone, we've seen him live. He's got some crashes and stuff. But for this song, I don't know if, when I learned this, I was like, oh, and I had to listen to the song. I'm like, wow, there is no crashes. It's almost like an illusion. So if everybody here knows the go-round grooves, so if you're in the LTR drumming world, you know those core rhythms that is the heartbeat of global rhythms. So that's what he's using, and he's also using the nuances of the hi-hat. So think of like you got that chick sound. If I just ease off on my left foot, I can sizzle it a little bit more. That's what he's doing instead of the crash cymbal. So let's all play along. I want to see everybody grab their sticks. And let me play just a little bit of it first. So everybody's probably heard this. A lot of drummers would have maybe started with the crash. And they probably might throw one in here. Now, if you're on default crash mode, you're going to throw one in here. But there's just nothing. And you can hear that if you threw a bunch of crash in, it would just step all over the vocals, right? Now, here's the chorus. Well, let me get to the point. Hear the hi-hat just open up a little bit. It's also Waze playing the hi-hat. He's kind of digging in. Opens up a little more. You don't know how it feels to be me. No crash cymbal. People come, people go. Like, how cool is that? Okay, so that's, and literally the entire song. Now think of the producer or whoever it was going on. Let me go through the screen and go on each of your sets and take away all the crash cymbals, right? And go, okay, play this song, but I'm literally going to take away your cymbals so you're not like tempted. That's really the lesson I think everybody can get to today is like, just don't be the guy or girl that's just like, oh, yeah. And just no thought to it. Just want to be like, oh, okay, here's a color. Like, how am I going to use that? So, okay, grab your sticks. Let's play to about a minute or so. Play any groove you want. I'm going to really think about my hi-hats and just feel the feeling of not crashing. and maybe you're like, oh, I kind of want to. Nope. And I'm not going to take off my crashes, but it's just good to feel what it's like not to crash, right? And also the way he's playing that hi-hat, if you're not going to crash, you can kind of dig in a little bit more to the hi-hat, even like maybe flip your stick around or something. So cool. Let's give it a shot. Okay, everybody grab their sticks. Everybody ready?
There's someone I used to see, but she don't give a damn for me. Well, let me get to the point. Let's roll another joint and turn the radio loud. I'm too alone to be proud, and you don't know how it feels. You don't know how it feels to be me.
That's a good thing to practice. That's actually kind of hard. And I didn't practice to any of these song examples today on purpose. I want to be live with everybody here and just feeling what it feels like to, yeah, try something new. And that's pretty cool. What I actually heard too, I actually didn't notice this before until I actually played it, but there's a little push. It's like a little push of the hi-hat. So, and I also was thinking a lot about how like when the chorus came, digging in just a little bit more to the snare. So sometimes when you take away stuff, you're more conscious of the details of the things you're using less. So that's a really cool kind of product of that. Okay, so cool. So play to that whole song. That is, yeah, about 4 minutes. And just feel that feeling of like no crashes. Okay, so I can see everybody's set here. Everybody's got a few crashes, so you're not going to use them. Cool. Okay, now one drummer we had on do a workshop for us. I'm going to show you a little clip of this. Is Mike Sleeth. And just unmute yourself. Was anybody on the Mike Sleeth masterclass? Anybody hanging out on that one? Yeah. And he plays for a guy named Sean Mendez. And he told us something in the workshop that was really interesting. He said, Sean is not a fan of crash cymbals. And he's just like talking to us and he's like, yeah, you know what? Sean he doesn't like the frequency of them. He's not a fan. So he kind of told me like, hey man, just like, can you not do that? Just don't do that. And he's like, I'll hit him. But he said that made me really conscious of when I was using them. Because like, I never had a singer tell me that before. He's like, I kind of don't like those and just use them only if you have to. So let's watch a little clip here of Mike. And now he's hitting the crashes and stuff, but it's like going through that with Sean, I'm sure he's like just more aware of how he's using them. And that's the whole point of what we're doing today.
The second you say you'd like me to, I just want to give you the loving that you're missing, baby. Just to wake up with you would be everything I need, and this could
right there. A lot of drummers might have played a crash and that little stop. No crash.
be so different. Tell me what you want to do, 'cause I know I can treat you better than he can, and any girl like you deserves a gentleman. Tell me why I'll be wasting time on all your wasted time when you should be with me instead. I know I can treat you better.
And this is on drumming. He may be just like, I'm not really with Sean right now, so I'm going to play a little bit more. So that might be like kind of what he's doing in that video, because he is kind of using a few. But he shared that with us, and he's very tasteful of where he puts them, and just like if I'm going to use it, I'm going to really go for it. And if I'm not going to use it, I'm going to leave some space there. So I thought that was really cool. And one thing I learned I've seen Jojo Mayer do this a lot, is like get into crash cymbals. Like I notice drummers all the time is with a bass drum, right? All the time with the bass drum. What about crashes like without bass drums? So kind of varying it up a little bit, something that I try to do in my playing, and I really started to notice Jojo Mayer was doing that a lot. He's a big influence of mine, and I'm like, oh, he's playing a lot of crashes just with the crash. Sometimes he'll do a fill. And you'll just hear the cymbal instead of the bass drum, or sometimes like in the middle of a beat. And then when you do add the bass drum to it, it's like, it has a nice amount of impact. So yeah, just something to think about. Something that I kind of fell in love with my own playing, where I'm like, man, a crash cymbal doesn't always have to have that bass drum beneath it, and it has a lot it can really do to the music there, right? So cool. Okay, so let's go to some other cool musical examples here. So one drummer that I wanted to show you here is like, this is kind of the opposite of the Tom Petty thing. Okay, so everybody knows Green Day, and probably, I'm guessing you've all heard this song. Now I'm gonna fast forward to when the drums come in. Now here comes the chorus.
So they always post the holiday song.
Yeah, cool. Play along, guys. I can see some people playing along. That's awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the drum isolated track, and this is pretty cool. This is the music. No. Yeah, there it is right there. Okay, and there's a wild picture of Green Day here, so just roll with it. So this is the drums isolated track. And it's awesome. It sounds simple, but when you just hear the drums by themselves, it's like, man, it's challenging to be that consistent. Let's see when the chorus comes in. Here it comes. That is a crash cymbal party. So that's like, that's like the opposite of some of the songs we've done today, right? Like just straight up crash. You're feeling all that sonic, like probably Shawn Mendes would not be a fan of that maybe, right? But that's like a musical decision he made that works great with that song. It's almost like a distortion pedal for a drummer, just going, okay, for this whole chorus, I'm gonna ride on this crash and then add two more kind of thing. And it sounds great and it works for that song. Can you imagine it on a ride or a hi-hat? Like it wouldn't have the same impact, right? And then when you hear it in the full chorus, it just works and it pushes it, right? So there's the extremes. We got kind of like Tom Petty, and then like Green Day, and then everything kind of in between, right? So just really thinking about these in a new way. That's the whole point. So, all right, let's go to our next song. Now this is going to be, I've never played this before, but I made a couple notes here. So we're all going to do this together. Okay, this is Beastie Boys, if anybody's a fan of Beastie Boys. And let me cue this up here. So let's listen to a second of it.
Yeah.
Now I think that's that's not a sample. I think that's like a real, that's like the Beastie Boys playing their own instruments, and that's what they love to do, just creating that. They've done some songs with samples and stuff, but I think this is like them jamming in a room, I think. And the way the crashes are in the song is really like what you not would expect. And I love hearing drummers do that. We're going to do a John Bonham track. John Bonham used crashes in like not the typical places. He gave some thought to it. That's the whole message of what we're all trying to elevate ourselves as drummers today. Just like give a little bit of thought to it. Don't just do the typical thing. Don't just go on default. Like put some thought into these powerful weapons we all have, right? So Chad Smith, also another drummer, heavily influenced from Led Zeppelin. Like where Chad puts crashes is kind of, sometimes it's not there where you'd expect it, and sometimes it's just in the middle of a phrase or something. It's like, oh, that's a real interesting spot to put a crash. Sometimes it doesn't have the bass drum under it. It's just cool and thoughtful. And that's what's in this track. So, okay, so I made some notes. I'm going to try to glance at the notes, and I'll try to cue you on camera when to do it. I just noticed listening to the song, I'm like, wow, there's like, I think there's 5 crashes in the whole thing, but they're real interesting areas, okay? So I'm just looking down at my notes here. So we got no crash until the first chorus. Then it's like in the middle of the second verse, and there's a couple of them. Then there's one in the second chorus. Then there's one in verse 3, and the middle of the third chorus, and that's it. And they're like just in strange spots, and they're like not what you'd expect. So I'm going to just try to cue the camera, and I want you to let's jam with this and get a feeling of like, I don't know how they thought of this. It would be interesting to talk to them. Like what's up with that? Maybe it was just like a kind of in the moment. Maybe they gave some thought to trying to put them where you wouldn't expect, but it's a real cool way to use crashes. All right. So let's jam to this. And I've never played this song before, but I'm going to try to nail the exact crashes, and I'm probably going to miss a couple, but let's have fun with it. I'm going to try to do the same crashes that are in this track. Okay, so let's all try it together. Grab your sticks, everybody. Everybody get your sticks? Fantastic. Let's try this. Let's see what happens. And as far as grooves, it's a go around groove song. Just jam to it.
Yes, we need this. The best is yet to come in. Yes, believe this. Let go my echo, while I flex my ego. Tip on Prosecco, dressed up tuxedos in my coffin playing Keno in the casino. Wanna look your number? Ask like Dino.
Before the competition like a flamethrower. My rhymes age like wine as I get older. I'm getting bolder, competition is waning. I got the girl and I see the lane in. We got a party on the left, a party on the right. We want a party for the motherfucking right to play. Make some noise if you do it. Make some noise if you do it.
All resurrection, popular election. Get paid every year like tax collection. Hear my protection, rotary connection. Taking MC stand by lethal rap
I'm
injection.
rocking on a volunteers. When I get blessed, you must have drank a busy lift to drink and you got lit. I'm just whipping when I catch MCs. It's time for wing clipping.
I fly like a hawk, or better yet an eagle. A seagull, switch suckers out like a beagle. My ego is off and running and on. Cause I'm about the best and if the best and that's wrong.
We got a party on the left, a party on the right. We got a party for the motherfucking right to play. Make some noise if you do it. Make some noise if you do it.
Cool. So another thing I notice in that is like you'll hear some fills, no crashes at the end. I want you all to try that. Let's even just try that right now. So just play a groove. Think of the song just happened. Do a fill, but no crash. Try it again. Any fill. And the coolest thing, throw in some fills, don't crash at the end, right? When's the last time you did that? Good. I probably, and a lot of times when I crash, I'm like, sometimes I'll hear it and go, I didn't need to do that. I'm crashing I probably crash more than I need to. So this is as much a reminder for me too. All right, next one of my absolute favorites. Check this out. Everybody knows it. Now, I got my notes here. So you notice he opened with a crash. Now you might think one's here. No crash. I think there's one here.
Sit with elders of the generation. This world is seldom seen. Top of days,
Yeah,
sit and wait.
Play along. Now you might think one would be here. Nope. I think it's right. Check this out, watch. Right there. And I think so. Like, that's really cool. That's really cool. If you just listen to that and go, man, like he's really, I think intentional and awareness is really maybe the key word, right? Like when he does a crash, he means it. And it's all his heart. And he's got a sweep. You can hear his sweep in that cymbal. Crashing a ride is a beautiful thing. But then he's like, no, not going to do it. Not going to do it here. So let's try to play to that just first minute and a half, 2 minutes, and try to, I'll kind of gesture where they're going to come. But I've never played it where I'm trying to get the exact crashes that he did. I like to just play songs my own way. But sometimes it's fun just to go, let me steal that idea from him and go like try to learn from these great moments in songs. Like, man, that's really cool what he did. So I've got my notes kind of where the crashes are. Let's see if we can get this. So grab your sticks. Let's give it a shot. You ready? So it's going to open with a big crash. I don't know if I can hit the button in time. I'm going to try. Here we go. Like, that's awesome. And it's such, I don't know if that was like wrong in the studio. Like maybe, you know, it happens sometimes with bands, right? Like I've heard Stevie Wonder do it and Chili Peppers and The Police was famous for this, Stuart Copeland, where like you know, it's one take and kind of they changed maybe the arrangement later of the song and they just left it. But that's real interesting places where he's putting crashes, and sometimes you'd expect it is not there. And then sometimes like in the middle of a phrase, there's like a big crash and it's beautiful. So I love the unexpectedness of where these kind of all fall. That's one of my most favorite things. So going back to Tom Petty, it's like, wow, there's no crashes at all. And then something like Green Day, it's like, whoa, this whole chorus is like 100% crashes. And then back to the Beastie Boys thing, it's just like kind of interspersed in the, almost like compositionally, where somebody was like, you know what? Let's take 5 crashes, no more, no less, and put them here, put them here, and put them here. But what I find, and this happened with my own playing, it's like, no, you know, not much thought. You're just like, okay, I'm going to play a song. And just it kind of is our, you know, crash, default. So I just want everybody thinking, if you take one thing away from today, like think just a little bit differently. You know, try a fill, don't do a crash. Maybe just end on the tom. Try a crash without a bass. And then maybe overdo the crashes, like that Green Day one. My mic's on, so I won't destroy your ears, but right? And yeah, just think differently with the crashes and study these guys like John Bonham, Steve Ferroni, all these drummers, from Jonathan Moffat with 17 crashes, and then a guy like, I don't know if anybody knows Keith Carlock, who plays with Steely Dan and a lot of great artists. He's got literally no crashes, just a bunch of rides, and he'll kind of crash the rides, and that's pretty cool. So cool. So that's all the examples I got, but I hope that just gets everybody thinking a little differently, because sometimes it's like, man, I never gave it much thought before. You know, and I'm going to do one of these on the hi-hat coming up, and you know, we can just look at all these components of our set and just sometimes in like a different way, and then we start to hear it in these bands we love. Oh, okay, oh, I hear it, and you start to hear it all over the place, and then your voice comes out on the drums. So that's an awesome place to be. So cool. So before we wrap up, any questions or any just comments or observations on how it felt in your playing to think a little differently? Maybe you never thought much about the crashes. Yeah, unmute yourself. Yeah, Kelly, you first, and then Abdallah.
Okay, so there's so many different cymbals. So, like for rock and roll, and then different ones. Like when you decipher through all the different, like there's a crash cymbal for rock and roll, for jazz, all that stuff. How do you, like, do you just base it on, like, when you hear a song, you just sort of by sound, or like some of the cymbals are so different sounding that just you sort of pick? Is there a specific, like, can you like some of the cymbals are a lot heavier, like for rock and roll, or for like gospel or jazz? What's the difference?
That's awesome you brought that up, Kelly. First off, I'm going to ask something in the LTR world we put in there. What are the 2 rules of drumming?
Well, there's no rules.
No rules.
What's the second rule?
Key rule
Break
number
them
1.
all.
Yeah, right. Break that rule. Break that rule. Exactly. Like you know, my daughter's 7, and we have a kids book called Dream Drum Girl. And the story is that this girl on an island, the rule was girls don't play drums. Even her dad told her, like, girls don't play drums. And then she's like, well, I want to play anyway. And she plays the drum. And then eventually her dad goes, oh, okay. You know, you fought for what you're passionate about, and she makes the village feel great. So it's like, break that rule. Sometimes rules are meant to be broken, right? So let's start with that. It's like there's like Keith Carlock, we just mentioned him. He plays with Steely Dan and and he's played with John Mayer and stuff. He will play a big pop gig and just have he's got like 4 or 5 ride cymbals, no crashes.
Yeah.
And he's playing like with John Mayer, which is like a pop rock group. No crashes at all. He'll crash a ride. And then you can, find other examples of that, like the Tom Petty thing. It's like, oh man, here's a song with 0 crashes at all, right? So kind of start with that, Kelly, where it's like there's no rules to this. I think if you're listening to the music as a whole, I think you're on the right track. And I'd also throw out, sometimes see what your favorite drummers are doing,
Right.
and try out what they're doing. And then eventually you'll find your own way with it.
Right.
Yeah, but there's no, if I was playing like a gospel gig or a metal gig, like one of my favorite bands is Meshuggah.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody knows Meshuggah. So look at the way he uses cymbals in Meshuggah. He uses HHX.
Yeah.
It's generally not a metal, like I guess you could use, there's some metal bands that use HHX, but generally like AAX is more popular and a thicker cymbal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But Thomas Hawk, the drummer in Meshuggah, is using like thinner cymbals and these cymbals that you might see in jazz fusion. And he's just got like, I don't know, he's got like 9 crashes around him. And he plays them beautifully, right? Look at Tony Williams. One of my favorite drummers is so-called jazz drummer, but he was using like a Zildjian A's, which is generally like a rock cymbal. He used like thick sticks. He had a lot of rock influence in his playing, but it's, you know what I mean? There's jazz drummers that use rock cymbals, and there's rock drummers that use jazz cymbals. So I think if you're just listening to the music as a whole with thoughtfulness, you're on the right track, Kelly. Like listen to the song.
And then recording yourself too, you can hear it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I still, to this day, I'll sometimes just hit a crash, or I'll listen to myself a recording and I'm like, oh man, I did not need to do that there. Why did I do that? I was like I'll either, hit a big whooshing cymbal that was like, oh, that was not cool. It might clash with the singer or something. Like I can look at your cymbals. Some of them are high pitched. Some of them are like the A's are kind of higher pitched, and the hand hammers are kind of lower. I remember when you got those hi-hats, Kelly, the hand hammered Sabians, and you're like, man, these are awesome. You remember that?
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, but some of it's like just stuff you're excited about. That's what I was saying, break the rule. Like if I was like, oh, I'm playing a rock song and I better use maybe AAXs because that's what you're supposed to do. I play cymbals that I'm in love with, and I make them fit the song how I hear it.
Cool.
You know what I'm saying? So as long as I'm like looking at the whole and being intentional and I'm expressing myself, then I'm on the right track.
Cool. Thank
I would
you.
never say like, man, you're playing a gospel gig, use this cymbal, and you're playing I'll show you 10 drummers that break the rules and make amazing music, right? So yeah, Abdallah.
Hey, so very cool session today. I think it also comes down to us as drummers listening to what's going on around us and reacting to it. Along the lines of what Gary said earlier about, very cool changing cymbals according to a room or adjusting our playing to the environment that we're playing in. We started with a Tom Petty song. It is a beautiful melody, and we of course don't want to get a beautiful vocal melody that is.
Exactly.
One of the thoughts that crosses my mind is with such a beautiful vocal melody, I don't want to get in the way of it with too many crashes. And the other factor there, I'm pretty sure it does sound like it has to be a Gretsch kick drum, and the sound is very organic and very open to
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. A minimal muffling in that kick drum, and it takes a little bit more of sonic space than a bass drum that is partially muted. So it does serve the purpose of filling that sonic space on the accents, especially on the chorus, to where
Yeah.
the crash is almost not needed. And then the opposite, for example, that Green Day Boulevard or Broken Dreams song, beautiful song as well. I like it a lot.
Me too.
Riding on the crash on the chorus is a necessity there. Those
Yeah.
amps are, and that sound is classic. It sounds like a 1959 SPL Marshall cab. You've got to let it rest on something, and that beautiful guitar tone is resting on that crash.
Sonic. See how you're thinking? That's what I was saying to Kelly. Exactly. Yeah, and that's why we listen to the isolated track. It's like,
Right.
ooh, and then with the amp, you're right. And then you hear the full thing, you're like, you almost can't imagine it.
Without being
Yeah.
supported, because like the way of
Yeah.
thinking, at least the way I think in that kind of scenario, is I'm providing a cushion for the sonic weight of the band, specifically the guitar, to rest on.
Yeah.
And then the other, in the case of Kashmir, beautiful song as well. The the tape delay that they used in that recording takes enough sonic space
Yeah.
to where the crashes are almost not needed. And then when we use the crash or crash on the ride, it makes this really cool, almost Leslie type of rotating sound between the
Ah,
tape delay and the cymbal. And if he was crashing all the time, it wouldn't get our attention. But because he's crashing every now and then, combined with the tape delay, it's like, whoa, what was
yeah,
that?
exactly.
So
Well
it,
said.
it's
Yeah.
also a matter of, being very aware of what's going on around us. And like Gary mentioned earlier, the environment or sonic space that we're performing in is
Yeah.
very, very important. I just wanted to.
Oh, exactly. That's you encompass the whole way that we're thinking with this. And I'm just sharing what I'm doing. Like I heard guys like Mike Sleeth go, man, Shawn Mendes didn't like Crash at all. I'm like, oh, I'm trying to think like, did I make any singers mad when I play it? I'm like, man, I crash at a default a lot. And I'm like, and then you start thinking like Evelyn Glennie, who's a percussionist. I don't know if you know her. She's yeah, plays with the London Symphony. She's
Frame drums and
yeah, yeah. And she says, think of yourself as a sound crafter, not as a drummer. Sound crafter. When you think that way, you're like, wow, we have some very powerful tools and colors here. And it can be just amazing. You just don't want to be that, just like where you just no thought to it. And you're just doing it at a default.
default. Yeah,
Yeah. And I catch myself going into that sometimes. I don't
it
want to.
happens.
It happens, yeah. And I don't want to, I want to rise above that and I want to be a little better. And sometimes it's just not doing it. That's why the Tom Petty things, I would love to find out. I just imagine being in that room and going, like, what was, I don't know if it was Tom or somebody going, you know what would be cool here? No crashes at
No
all.
crashes.
And then even watch them live. Like I haven't done it, but go on YouTube, try to find some live performances. And do they play them then? Do they leave them out? Maybe it crashes all over the place live. I don't know. Maybe it's a different thing. But I find that when I play to that Tom Petty song, I'm thinking more about the hi-hats. I'm thinking more about my snare. I'm thinking more about the kick, like you said, the tuning, how much you're laying into it.
Right.
And then it becomes really hard. Like that's the first time I played. I don't know. I probably played that song at some point, but I purposely didn't practice any of these songs today so we could all kind of feel it. And when you got nothing to fall back on, it's like it becomes really difficult. Seems easy. It's not.
Those
Yeah.
those are decisions that not it's not the drummer in ourselves making that decision, it's the musician deciding those type of things,
Yeah.
I believe.
Outstanding. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So have fun with this concept. And so the whole theme is tasteful crashes. Just like these are a big part of our set and a big part of our expression. And it just becomes fun. I found it just became a lot more fun when I started to think of them differently. You know, put them in unexpected places, take them out. And then if I'm going to do it, really do it like that Green Day thing you mentioned. And it just made drumming really fun. And it's actually a really simple concept, but man, did it just added a lot of joy to my playing. And then just listening to music too, like listen to something like Kashmir, like, man, that's awesome. Or that Beastie Boys song. Like, I've heard that Beastie Boys song for years. And every time I hear it, I'm like, ooh, like there's a crash right there. It's the perfect spot. That's not in any of the other spots. It's great.
There's one thing maybe that I think I was thinking about that Beastie Boys sound. Since hip hop is so centric in what the guys are saying, what I think I noticed is when they switch from one guy to the next, that's when the crash comes in.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good
I think, and that
observation.
was the little thing that I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So instead of going through bars, it's just when the next guy comes in. I think that's what's happening there.
You know what? I did not even look at it like that. I'm going to listen to it again. Yeah, see?
call.
That's really good call. Really good call. We're talking about Chad Smith from the Chili Peppers. He'll use crashes to kind of punctuate something Anthony's saying sometimes. Not just the boring, we call it the 4-bar itch, like 1, 2,
Right.
3, 4, I gotta do a crash. Whereas Chad's like, oh, I'm gonna listen to Anthony and he's gonna say a little word and I'm gonna punctuate that. So Dom, I think you're bang on with that. And I actually didn't look at it in that way. I'm gonna listen to it again and I'm gonna go, oh my God. Exactly. That's probably what they were thinking, right? Like every time there's a new voice, I'm gonna punctuate it there. So yeah, exactly. Just see what the theme is. You bang on with that. Just think a little differently. Think musically. Think sonically, and break the rules. There are no rules. The 2 rules of drumming, right? So cool. So have fun drumming, everybody, and try to find. Bring to the table. We're all gonna, we're in this awesome drumming community. We always meet. So throw a song in the email group or the mastermind page, like maybe a song that uses your favorite drummer that does it. And, we're all kind of growing from this, and it's just think differently and have fun. That's the whole thing. Awesome, everybody. That was a great session. I saw everybody playing the whole time. I had a blast. So I'll see everybody soon. Okay.
Cheers.
Awesome.